Welcome back to Late Grade Classics, a podcast where we talk all things classic cars, from the brilliant minds who created these cars to those who brought the hobby into the 21st century and those that are bringing the hobby in for the future generations. My name is John Ruff, and I am your host. This podcast is powered by Push Button Creative Audio. If you need audio branding for all brands, shapes, or sizes, check us out at pushbuttoncreativeaudio.com. Today, I'm talking to a hobbyist who is bringing the hobby in to the 21st century and beyond, Ginger Galloway, my friend and colleague for at least 5 years. How you doing, Ginger?
I'm doing well. How are you?
All right. So we were just talking. So we met at a leadership conference, like Palm Island, right? Isn't it?
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh yeah. That was the great mosquito infestation.
Yeah. And like we just started just talking, industry advertising stuff. And then we realized we were both car people.
That's right. Yeah.
So tell us about who you are, what you do, and how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, we met through the Advertising Federation. I've owned Pinstripe Marketing, which is a B2B full service agency, for 27 years now.
Wow. Congrats.
And so just we do, branding, PR, digital, kind of the whole gamut, everything you would expect. But we primarily work with nerds. So law, finance, architecture, engineering. I love my nerds.
Nice. And you're probably like the highlight of their day because they're so left-brained, and then you bring all this creativity and fun into the day, right?
They're a little geeky, but the architects, we can share some stories.
Nice.
They've got the right brain too.
So it even made its way into the name of your company, Pinstripe.
Yeah, I get asked a lot if I'm a Yankees fan. I was like, ew, no. It's more about the pinstripe suit.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because push button, I just push button radios, and it all kind of made sense for how we did
so
that.
Creative.
Yeah. We try sometimes. So how did you? So you're a Volkswagen person. Any other brands in there, or is it strictly the V-dubs?
Yeah, I've been a V-dub girl for a very, very long time. Yeah.
Okay. How did this all start?
Interesting story. When I was in high school, my best friend, his dad owned a Volkswagen parts store. And so I think it was his 14th birthday, he gave him a shell and a shopping cart and said, build your car. And so for like the next 3 years, we tinkered and, they built the car, and I was able to go over and hang out and, plan some things and help out where I could, and just fell in love with them. And it was Christmas of '89. His sister came home from college in her triple white VW convertible. And I absolutely fell in love. I was like, that's it. That's the one I want. But of course, my parents were like, you can't have that old car. You need something reliable. And so, I wasn't able to get that. I know. I appreciate it now, but at the time I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
So it took me many, many, many years after that to finally get Blanche, my triple white convertible.
So what year was her car?
Also a 78.
78.
And it's the exact same car. In fact, I named it the same in her honor. That was the original Blanche.
Oh, that's so funny. So how did you find Blanche?
When I was ready to start looking, I contacted the local Volks, which is our local club, and just said, if anyone comes across the triple white, let me know. I'm on the hunt.
Yep.
And this one guy had just inspected one up in Brooksville for a guy that's out of New York that acquires cars for his clients. Inspected it. Guy decided not to get it, and he sent me a note, and he's like, I just inspected this one. It's the best you're going to find.
Wow.
Take a look at it. And he sent me all the inspection documentation. I went up and drove it, fell in love, and she came home.
Nice. And when was this?
That was 6 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. So is that your first classic Volkswagen?
My very first, yes. And that's when I started learning a lot.
Okay. So what'd you learn?
They are finicky little divas, but
right.
But I started hanging out with the Volkswagen crew locally, and they're wonderful people. They're all walks of life. It's kind of the typical laid back, chill, hippie, surfer, wanderer, kind of folks, and they're just awesome. But when hanging out with them, I was like, oh, you're allowed to have more than one. So,
you can't just have one.
So. Yeah, I didn't know. So, And so then I found Rogue, which is a 73 Baja. And I found her on the Samba website. She was out of Tennessee, had her inspected and shipped to me. And that was probably 4 years ago. And then 3 years ago, I finally got Piper, who is my 77 bus.
Okay. So tell me about the bus.
Oh, the bus is fantastic. It's the coolest, most versatile, practical. She's, you know, a party zone. Everyone can pile in. She's a hauler. She's my pickup truck. She's my camper. We go camping all the time. So
Okay.
she's probably the one that gets the most work out, but I love them all equally, like any good mother.
So, what in Fast Times did Spicoli have a bus, or was
Yeah.
it something? It was a
Yeah,
bus.
yeah.
Okay.
There's some guys in the group that have actually seen that bus. It goes to a bunch of different shows and things, and so we've got pictures all over our Facebook page of the Spicoli bus.
Okay. I'm wearing my checkered Vans today, and
Nice.
that's totally.
Thank you.
Yeah, that actually worked out great.
In honor.
And yeah, exactly. So what is it about classic Volkswagens that people love them? What's the deal? Because I don't know that a whole lot about them.
Well, they were the best-selling car on the planet up until like 2002 when the Corolla surpassed them.
Sure.
And so there's just a lot of them that were on the road. And the fact that they were so simple to work on, that little 1600 cc, boxer 4-cylinder, like if you've got Google and a little bit of patience, pretty much anyone can work on them.
Okay.
And so it made it really accessible. And the fact that there were so many and that it became kind of this icon, initially kind of part of that, I don't know, counterculture with the hippies and the surfers and things like that. But eventually just the accessibility of it created that like really huge aftermarket to be able to get, parts and performance and accessories and modifications and things to really make them personal. That I think that's something that has just resonated with people.
Yeah.
And, the fact that, you get in a fender bender, you pull off a fender, you put another one on and you keep going. So there's something really kind of easy and accessible to what kind of started as the people's car, to make it available for everybody.
Well, and that, so my family history is mostly Chevy, but my mom learned to drive stick in a Volkswagen.
I get that story all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think she had a gas gauge. And so there was like a reserve.
That checks.
There's a reserve. So like if you run out of gas, you just turn on to reserve and then you can go until you find
Not in mine. When you run out of gas, you were on the side of the road calling for help. That happens a lot.
You don't bring a gas can with you?
I should. I really should. But yeah, they're unreliable, and I've got the app where I track, the mileage and everything, but sometimes you just.
So speaking of like, the first time I ever had a breakdown is when I ran my 55 Chevy out of gas. So, and even to this day, like you get to a quarter of a tank and you better find a gas station pretty quick.
Yeah. Just do it now.
Yeah. So give me like, I don't know, what's a good breakdown story that you've had, like that connects a good story with it?
Well, so we all joke that, the natural habitat of a Volkswagen is on the back of a tow truck. So it's just something that it comes with the territory,
Yeah.
There's so many. I really can't even narrow it down.
I know.
They are always broken.
I got a funny one. So we've got this race car in the family that goes to 2 events a year, and every once in a while I'll take it out to a car show. It's not exactly street legal, but I picked it up from the mechanic, and I've got like a day before the show, right? So I'm driving it home, it dies. And so I pull into this neighborhood and I was pretty sure I was out of gas. So luckily I wasn't very far from home. So run home, get a gas can and put some gas in it, and it fires up. I was like, okay, great. I don't have very far to go. So I get it out on the street to go to my house, and it dies again. So luckily I had enough momentum that I threw it in neutral and I coasted into this like church parking lot. And
I'm familiar.
Okay, so I coast in, I come around, and I pull parallel to the street. and I'm very frustrated at this point. So it won't fire. So I just said, whatever, I'll just call AAA. I mean, literally, I probably could have pushed it, at this point or so close. But there is like a bridge that I have to go over to get to my house. And then once you're over that bridge, you're almost to the house. So I go home and I'm working and I'm frustrated. And it's kind of like, the AAA will be there and, between an hour and 4 hours, who knows?
Or 3 days. Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So it's like they're probably on call big time. So I'm sitting at home and whatever. And I thought, all it needs is gas and spark. Right. And so I was like, I poured a little gas in it and it fired up and then it died. And I thought, I wonder if the fuel filter's clogged. So I decided to go back over to where the car was and I just undid the fuel filter a little bit because it's not glass. You can't see in it, and all of a sudden fuel just starts coming out. And I was like, okay. So I cranked it back and I put a little bit of gas in the carburetor and I fired it up. And it was one of those, like when the car fires up and you're good. Cause like sometimes you fire it up and you're like, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to make it. Dude, as soon as it fired up, I threw that hood down and I hit it and I'm going over the bridge and here comes the tow truck going the other direction. And so I hit the bridge and I put it in neutral, came down, pulled into the neighborhood, parked it, and I took it to the show the next day. It was good to go. And I still don't know.
Yeah. I love those moments though. Like when you figure it out, you're like, I'm a genius.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Back to the Future, when he connects the thing and everything works. Right. So that's my most recent breakdown that ended up with me not wanting to sell everything and just, give it all up. So,
yes, I have that feeling way too often.
Because like you feel betrayed. You feel a little betrayed. You're like, I love you. I give you everything.
I give you everything. Why are you doing this to me?
My time, my energy, my passion.
Yes.
So so if you think of one while we're chatting and a good breakdown story comes to light, feel free.
We focus on the good around here.
I like it. Blind enthusiasm. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I put these girls to work too to earn their keep. They've been used in photo shoots and
that's great.
They do all kinds of. In fact, Piper was she's in a music video for the band Algorithm.
Okay.
And she was featured in a Lifetime movie, which was Spring Break Nightmare.
Okay.
Pretty epic.
Nice. What was the role?
She was the bad guy's car. It was
Nice.
they kidnapped a surfer, and they were also surfers, and they needed the typical surfer vehicle.
Of course. So now, is this one where people drove it, or it just like?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I trusted them to drive the car.
How did you feel?
It was fine. And the only reason she got the part was that they had contacted our group, but none of the actors could drive stick. And she happens to be an automatic. And so they're like, oh, we have one. And she already has the surfboard on top and everything. So she was good to go.
Okay.
She was a natural.
Now, how do you find out about these opportunities? I mean, obviously the photo shoot and stuff, you're in the know, but for movies and stuff.
Yeah, that comes through typically the film commission. They've got access to a lot of the clubs and things locally, and so they typically reach out and say, "What do you got?"
Nice. And as we all know, we need more filming in Florida. So
yes, we do.
Yeah,
yes, we do.
I couple of the cars in my family were chosen for the right stuff.
I remember.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest. Like that was so cool. I mean, to not only be on set. Right. But to like have the cars be used and get a little bit of money for it. Like the cars actually paid me. Like,
yeah, right.
That's crazy.
They have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Corvettes are such an iconic part of that story too.
Yes.
So it really highlighted that so well.
And then the 59 Impala that's in my family, it was chosen to be the boss's car. So it was in a lot of scenes. So it was really cool. Really cool to see that.
Yeah. The Lifetime movie was not that cool.
Hey, it's still a movie.
It's still a movie.
I mean, So if your car, how often are you tinkering on them, or how often do you just send them to the mechanic? Like what's the ratio there?
I mean, I am certainly no expert. And so, I can change oil, I can adjust valves, I can kind of, poke around and make sure that all the electrical connections are done. But
That's cool.
if it's anything beyond that, let an expert take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Same here.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in shops and I certainly, have turned wrenches in my life, but life gets crazy and busy and at some point you let the experts handle the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you got three that may or may not start, yeah,
Yeah.
let somebody else deal with it.
Right. Right. So what's the furthest you've driven in one?
Let's see. Well, we do a camping event over in Daytona, so we go across the state once a year for that show. But I've got friends in the group now that have made their way all the way over to California, up, and they're
Stop.
back through Nevada now, and then some other friends that took an early '60s bus all the way up to Alaska and back.
Jeez.
Yeah. So they can still be road warriors, but you have to have, some spare parts and know-how riding
Yeah.
along with you on those.
Well, you got plenty of room in a
Yeah,
bus.
exactly. Exactly.
That's cool. Man, what an adventure. What an adventure.
Amazing. And I need their itinerary because I want to do every single thing on the list.
Now, what as far as the buses go, because the bugs have always been popular, but like the buses
Mhm.
got really popular and they're very valuable, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
The early ones, yeah, for sure.
And that's the one they took to Alaska, an early.
Yeah, so there's the minibus, which is up until 66, 67.
Okay.
And then there's the bay window, which is the big single glass windshield
Okay.
that's from that period until 79, I think.
Is that the one everyone wants?
No, the split window is the iconic one. And that's the one that you always see on, Mecum and Barrett, and they're
Okay.
going for six figures. Yeah.
And like there's something with the windows, like the side windows too, right? Like the
Yeah, so the windows that go all the way around, the most iconic is the 21 window, and those
21
are the ones with the curved back, and then they also have the Alpine windows up on the top, the roof, so you could see the Alpine mountains as you're driving through.
Of course.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
very German.
So German. I love it. Yeah, so those are mucho expensive, right? Like
They can be. I mean, you can pick up a project, at a reasonable rate, but yeah, anytime you want to put anything into them, it's going to cost you a lot of money. But the really great restorations, they go for hundreds of thousands.
okay. It's funny. Jay Leno, I guess there was some comedian and he's a big V-dub guy. Have you seen this one?
Fluffy.
Fluffy.
Yeah.
And so Leno goes to his garage and Fluffy goes, "You see, this is what happens when you don't have a cocaine addiction."
It's so true. His collection is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you take a look at the YouTube videos with his collection, it's really fantastic.
Very cool. Very cool. So with your trio, are you like you're keeping them forever, or you might part, you might want to get something different? What's the plan here?
I've been told that the three of them kind of represent my three personalities.
Okay.
So I would feel absolutely terrible, but there are some other things that I want that I may have to make room for. I don't need quite so many vehicles, but I can't decide which to part with. They're so
know.
much fun
It's
in
tough.
very different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I said this in the last episode, but my neighbor, I'm in a car guy neighborhood. There's there's everyone's
Awesome.
got shops and there's cars everywhere. And
So jealous.
oh, I know. You should come see it sometime. And so this gentleman who lives in the neighborhood, I bought his 57 pickup truck. And I'd come over about a year or two later and I was like, "You miss it, Lou?" And he goes, "I miss all my children, John." And so I think it's kind of what happens, you just.
Yeah, and my recent regret story is that that Gen 2 Toyota Forerunner that I got rid of,
Mhm.
20 plus years ago, and regretted it ever since. So I had to replace her.
Yeah. So what happened there? So yeah, talk to me about your latest acquisition.
Yeah. So a friend of mine from the VW Club was back home in Puerto Rico, and he posted a picture of an engine he was working on. But in the background, I saw the front bumper of an old Forerunner, and I was like, "You can bring that home for me." And he's like, "Actually, that's my mom. She is thinking about selling it.
What?
She bought it in '92, single owner, only 105,000 miles, garage kept from the day it was brought home. Like
Really?
absolutely stunning condition." So. Yeah, she had to come home for me.
Okay. And so what? How long did it take to get shipped over?
Well, it sat at the dock there for about 3 weeks or
Oh,
more, and then about a week to get here.
okay. And
Yeah.
so the first thing car people think of is rust, right? So was it pretty good shape? No rust?
Pristine.
What?
Pristine.
Man.
Yeah.
Way to scout that.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. I spotted that thing. I was like, I've been missing my Millennium Falcon for 30 years or whatever it's been.
So vintage Toyotas are coming on, that I've
I
noticed.
had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just now stepping my toes back into that scene, and it's really, I had no idea.
Yeah. What are you seeing? What's out there?
Just, I mean the Gen 3s have the most kind of modifications and aftermarket opportunities, as well as like the new ones.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean there's clubs and off-roading and all the things that you would expect from car guys.
Yeah.
So it's been a blast.
You
Yeah.
gonna join a
Of
Toyota club?
course, I'm a habitual joiner.
So now for the
That's how we met.
so for the Volkswagen, yeah, exactly. So for the Volkswagen Club, like, do you have meetups and stuff like that?
Mhm. Yeah, we meet every Thursday out on the Dunedin Causeway, and we just hang out. Sometimes we barbecue, just chill and hang out with each other.
That's
There's the big shows. So Bug Jam is, I want to say, Dade City, and that is the largest VW show in the Southeast. So we do that every November.
oh
It's
wow.
over Veterans Day weekend.
Okay.
And then we've got various camping events and other kind of parking lot shows or whatever. But there's always something going on, and the people are just so cool that it makes it a lot of fun. I mean, we're not the type that kind of pull up and polish and sit behind them and
Right.
everything. It's like we just it's dirty, it's half broken or whatever. You pull up and then you just walk around. It's
I
a very
love that.
different kind of car show. Yeah.
I love that. That's great. And I grew up around like the latter of that, or the opposite of that. So like, it was very much like some showed up on trailers, covered trailers, of course, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they sit in a parking lot and you polish them, and then there's judging and all that stuff. And then
Yep. Yep.
lately it's just the complete opposite, where you show, you hang out, you leave. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what we do here in Central Florida, cruising
Mhm.
Orlando and things like that. Like you come and go as you please, and there's no trophies, and
Yeah.
it's just kind
I
of
much
like,
prefer that.
yeah, let's just get together and
Yeah.
tell lies
The
and
the
go
parking
home.
lot shows are not my favorite. I much prefer my toes in the sand, but yeah,
Uh,
it's a good time.
can't argue with you there. Can't argue with you. That sounds nice. There's something about a V-dub near the beach too. I think that makes sense for everybody.
It does. Yeah. You get approached a lot. I mean, you know this. I mean, you could never pump gas alone.
No.
That somebody always has to come up and tell you the story about, oh, yeah, I learned to drive stick on one of these, or
Hmm.
we did a cross country vacation in a bus when I was a kid. And everybody has a Volkswagen story.
Yeah.
And to be able to kind of be part of that and just kind of experience it and think about it, it's pretty cool.
Well, and it's something so cool about, classic cars in general, that, these cars were bought new and,
Hmm.
loved, and there's memories in them, and we're the
Yeah,
caretakers of them,
that's
and,
right.
and so, we have that. And then we also have other people coming up and telling their stories. So there's just so much involved, and I love it. 'Cause I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sentimental and
Well, and of course, I'm sure you guys have the same kind of jokes where it's like, inevitably someone comes up and says, "Oh, a Porsche motor will bolt right into those things." Like, yeah, we know, we know. You
oh
hear the
yeah.
same things, but
Yeah.
it's great. They're conversation starters for sure.
So speaking of, what's the popular modifications that people are doing on classic V-dubs?
It runs the gamut. I mean, you've got the guys that really put in kind of the performance parts and make these things go. Because I mean, they were born with 40 horsepower,
Sure.
so sky's the limit. In fact, there was a few years ago, there was this bus, early bus, maybe 60, 59, that had one of those, what is it, the Mustang illuminators, that giant 5 liter,
Oh,
almost 600 horsepower
yeah.
engine put in it, like really kind of awesome.
Okay.
Loud, just aggressive.
Of course. Yeah.
But all the physical modifications, the different kind of accessories and things that you can put into them, changing out. They're so easy to unbolt and bolt back together that the sky is the limit on what you can kind of find for them. But there's shops that I follow on Instagram, like Metamorphosis, that does absolutely beautiful resto mods. They have one named Rose that is that you may have even seen. She's all pink and has like rose interior, and she's all sparkly and pretty and very girly. She's awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, they even make it out to SEMA and the
Okay.
other shows that you would expect. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of really cool stuff there. But they jack them up, they slam them to the ground, everything in between,
Sure.
and and patina is still a well-loved thing. They don't have to be shiny.
I'm still
You
a
don't
fan
have to
of
be
it.
scared to park them somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, mine are pretty shiny. I like shiny.
Okay.
Blanche is probably the most stock of all of them, and then like Rogue is the Baja, and so she's got her own issues. And Piper on the outside is pretty stock, but the interior is pretty awesome. She's set up kind of like a diner inside,
Okay.
with the seats facing each other with a little table, so it's a little hangout spot.
Fun. So we live in Florida. Do any of your cars have AC?
They do not.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of battery fans.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I made a mistake one time in the bus of putting in one of those that has the mister,
Oh,
and
no.
I created like a terrarium. I was like, okay, that was a bad idea.
So when like non-car people get in your car, do they reach for the shoulder harness or do they try to turn the AC on? Like how does that work?
Yeah, well, Blanche was actually a stock AC car, and so
Nice.
all that stuff was ripped out years ago. But I've been thinking of like, well, how might I use at least the vent system or something and put
Sure.
one of the more modern ones in there? But she's still 40 horses, and so straining that engine with that may not be the best
Wow.
idea. But yeah, I mean, after the excitement of getting in, yeah, they grab and they're like, why isn't this going? I'm like, well, because you have to be gentle. It's going to lock on you. And then once
Yeah.
it's in, it starts to choke you a little bit. So it's always an experience on how these things work. And a lot of them, I mean, a lot of my friends, are younger and they've never been in a car like that.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
they haven't been in one in 30 some odd years. And their aunt's Beetle. Yeah.
So had to be a pretty rare car to have factory AC, I would think.
I don't know. Because she's a 78. So that may have been kind of
78.
the beginning of all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I love it. I love when people who don't know what to expect and they get in and it's a total trip. We should be videoing this for posterity, I think.
Well, I think the funny part is, when they see kind of the sequence that you have to go through to get them started, it's not just, jump in, hit the brake, push a button. It's,
Right.
The key has to go in, then out, then in again. And then you have to be in third and then push the, and then knock on the windshield and then it's like,
Say a prayer.
just to get these things. Yeah. So it's like theft protection because no one else is going to be able to know how to get them started.
Yeah, exactly. So as someone who works in, communications, advertising, marketing, how do you see Volkswagen's history and image being shaped over the years?
From a PR perspective, it's interesting. It started, as part of Nazi Germany, that this was kind of Hitler's desire to have a car that was accessible to everybody.
Mhm.
And so that's not the greatest origin story. And
Sure.
so the fact that they were able to come out of that and really become this loved icon of peace and love and all of those things throughout the 60s is really probably one of the best like brand revitalizations ever.
Sure.
To be able to get through that. And then because there were so many on the road and there were so many colors of the rainbow and everything that they were able to kind of last through that because they were never designed as a modern looking car. So when you look back on them now, they don't feel as dated as a lot of the cars that were built in the 50s and 60s and 70s that
Sure.
are very of that era.
Yeah.
I mean, even now with the new Beetle and now the ID Buzz, they still kind of retain a lot of that soul that they had then. Um, I mean, obviously, the DDB ad campaigns, the Think Small
Right.
and all of that campaigns from back then. I mean, those are iconic, and those were in every textbook we ever got
Yep.
for advertising and marketing, right?
Oh yeah.
And so now watching the way that they came out of that early, what was it, 2015 or so, the Dieselgate, where
Yes.
they messed all that up. The fact that they've come out of that, they created the ID Buzz, and now they're, which I think they did a great job with. I mean, I'm not an EV person, but I think they did a nice job of protecting a lot of the soul of that while still having kind of the modern amenities that you would expect in a new car.
Yeah.
But that ad campaign that they have now where, we shape the metal, you shape its soul.
Yeah.
I think is so great because it speaks to us as lovers of the brand and the history and everything, but it also is kind of, I don't know, aspirational or inspiring to someone that may be buying a Volkswagen for the very first time.
Yeah.
And so I think that they've really done a good job of kind of repairing the initial launch into the world
Sure.
into where they are today.
Yeah. Now, you were talking about the 60s peace and love. Now, was that a conscious decision by Volkswagen Part, or did that just organically happen and they went with it?
I think it was very organic because
Okay.
they were so accessible. I mean, they were cheap, they were everywhere.
Right.
Like I said, everybody could work on them. You could change out parts as you needed them, that it just made it very easy for everybody to be able to afford one or to have one. And because it was used in just kind of that iconic Woodstock era,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, this may work. And
Right.
and they embraced a little bit of it, but I think that they just kind of let the people kind of drive that brand for a while.
They're like, y'all drive it, we'll make them, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They're so cute.
They are. I mean, that Think Small campaign is, like you said, it was the counterculture when all the cars were huge, right? So they just zagged, right? They're like,
yeah, and it wasn't until the Japanese cars started being imported that they had a real competition in that economy car market. So I think that was a lot of it too, is that they kind of held their own space in a world full of gigantic cars.
yeah. Now, why do you think that ad still resonates today? The Think Small campaign.
There aren't a lot of brands that are willing to admit their perceived weaknesses as a strength.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think that is probably a lot of why that was so just different. I mean, at the time, but even still today, I mean, to be able to admit, yeah, we're small, yeah, we can't fit a whole bunch of people in the Beetle. And there was the one with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think, trying to fit in a Volkswagen Beetle. There was a lot of different ads that just kind of, they were very different for the time when everything was about, new and better and great. And, now including this,
Yeah.
it was just very, very different.
Right. Speaking of their ads, one of my favorites of all time, and you probably remember this, I think it was 2009 or 2010, where it was a Super Bowl ad, and the little kid was in the Darth Vader outfit.
Darth Vader.
Oh, isn't that one of the best? It was
best.
one of the best ads ever. So
yeah,
good.
And that was the beginning of kind of that remote start technology.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was the first time a lot of people saw it. It was on their TV during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so great. So if there was like a classic car association, right, and they came to Pinstripe and said, we want you to tell the story, we want you to promote classic cars, what would you say? What would you say? What would you tell?
That's such a great question. I have to say, sitting where I sit today with these cars, it's all about storytelling. And I know that's so cliche now in advertising and marketing in general, but it really is about the stories and the emotional connection that we all have to these crazy pieces of metal. And the fact that I even have names for them and they each have their own personalities, that I have really kind of given them these, they're people in my lives, and it's really bizarre.
Right. And it matches your personalities, and sometimes I'm like, well, what do I feel like driving today? That's the beauty part. It's like, what do I feel like doing? Like Do I want
Right.
stock? Do I want modern? What do we want to do? You know?
Well, you're lucky because I get to say which one's going to start today.
Well, sometimes that plays into it as well. So what misconception would you think people have about these cars?
The biggest misconception is that classic VWs are just Beetles and buses.
Okay.
And this is something that I really didn't kind of know either. I mean, the Karmann Ghia is one of the most beautiful vehicles ever designed.
Mhm.
The thing is something that's totally iconic,
Oh, yeah.
and I mean the bare bones most simple vehicle out there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about the Type 3s, the fastback and the squareback and the notchback cars. And then
Okay.
even beyond that, the getting into water cooled with the Rabbit and the Scirocco and some of those from the 80s. And so
Sure.
um, I think we naturally think about the bug and the bus, but the VW community is a whole lot more. And I'm realizing now that a lot of those are even more desirable than some of the Beetles and
Really?
buses.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. See, there's a misconception.
Oh yeah, I'm full of them.
Perfect.
So if someone were to come to you and say, "I want to buy my first classic VW," what's the one thing you want to communicate? I'm sure there's several, but
I mean, to obviously, like everything else, do your research. That these are not reliable daily drivers. They're not comfortable. These are not. It's not something that you're going to want to spend a whole lot of time in,
Right.
unless you're, of course, driving to Alaska. But
right.
they're going to break. They are going to cost a not inconsiderable amount of money. So
Mhm.
it's to kind of just be prepared. It's like, getting a puppy. It's like you
Ah,
know that there's going to be trouble in vet bills. Like this,
yeah.
these are going to be, they are frustrating, they are wonderful, they are infuriating, they are magical.
Yeah.
But the biggest recommendation I have is honestly to find your people, to get in the community, because
That's huge.
I know that if I decided that I was going to take off across country and I ended up broken down somewhere in the middle of Arkansas, that I could call on my VW people. Somebody knows somebody in Arkansas,
Yeah.
and they are going to be willing to come out to the side of the road and help me.
Wow.
And that's the biggest thing, is that that VW people are everywhere. They are all kind and helpful and knowledgeable, and they're just great.
Yeah. No, that's really good advice. That's really good advice. Find your
Yeah.
tribe.
Yep. Save your pennies and find your tribe.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I spoke to an ad-fed club not long ago, and I was doing the about me portion of the the boring part, and I was I said, and I did like, this is my classic car, and this is my wife in a classic car, and this is my son in a classic car, and it's always like rosy and having a good time. And then on the last one, I'm like, and that's me broke down last Friday waiting on a tow truck at 9:00 at night when it was 30 degrees out.
Exactly. Yeah, we always point that out and be like, oh, they love their piggyback rides.
Mm-hmm. So what's next for you?
Next is getting them all running again.
Okay.
Rogue, we went to a Taco Tuesday meetup, and she lost all but fourth gear on the way home, so that was fun.
No.
Trying to
Yeah.
get her home. And then, I mean, they all need a little love. I mean, Piper's getting a little rusty. She's got some updates to make, just to kind of fend that off for as long as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Okay. Well, there's always something, right? So that gives you the the newness of things, because there's always something to explore, something to fix, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's always an adventure, which they say that's the key to life. So I think we found it.
Yes, they keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
There's no boredom.
Right. Well, Ginger, thanks so much. I really appreciate you coming on and giving me, because
I enjoyed it.
I really don't know much about them. So and I know how much you love them and drive them, and that's the most important part. And you do these fun adventures.
Well, I appreciate it, because I am no expert. So if you ever want to talk to someone who really knows about them, I can connect you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.